6 rare traits that make you more valuable than gold after 65. Senior wisdom in life after 60. Have you ever stopped to wonder what truly makes someone quietly priceless as they grow older? It's not money, it's not social status, and no, it's not just luck. The truth is, after the age of 65, there are certain inner qualities that, when nurtured, turn you into someone irreplaceable, someone others naturally admire, deeply respect, and genuinely want to be around. But here's the thing. Many people overlook these qualities. They let them fade with time, never realizing how precious and powerful they truly are, especially in later life. In this video, we'll uncover 6 timeless traits that have nothing to do with your appearance, income, or achievements, and everything to do with how you think, how you carry yourself, and how you choose to show up in the world. And the best part? You can start growing these traits at any point in life, even if you feel like it's too late. It's not. Stick around until the end, because trait number 6 is something most people don't fully realize until they're well into their later years. And by then, for some, it's too late. So if you've ever felt like you're slowly fading into the background, if you've wondered how to stay purposeful, respected, and connected as you age, then this message is for you. These traits can help you stand out, not loudly, but meaningfully, and bring you a deep sense of inner peace, purpose, and fulfillment that no paycheck or praise can buy. Now let's begin with the very first trait 1, unshakable self-respect, the foundation everything else rests upon. In all my years working with older adults across the United States, there's one thing I've seen time and again. Those who carry themselves with quiet dignity, not loud, not showy, but calm and assured, are the ones who seem to glow from within. They're not chasing attention. They're not trying to prove themselves. They've simply arrived at a place where they know who they are, and they don't apologize for it. As we age, it becomes surprisingly easy to feel invisible. People interrupt you more than they used to. Strangers assume you need help when you don't. Younger folks talk over you, thinking they've already figured out life. And sometimes, even in your own home, you realize no one's asked how you really feel in a very long time. But here's something I hope you never forget. The most valuable thing you can protect, especially after 65, isn't your savings account. It isn't your reputation. It's your self-respect, not ego, not pride, but that quiet, steady voice inside that says, I matter. I still matter. Let me tell you about someone I met a few years ago, Louisa, a retired school secretary in her late 70s. For decades, she was everyone's go-to person. She said yes to everything. Babysat the grandkids even when her back ached, cooked for her adult children while battling the flu, took calls from friends at midnight just so they could vent. She was dependable, loyal, generous, and completely worn out. Then came the night that changed everything. It was late, almost 10 p.m. Her daughter called, like she often did, not to check in, but to unload. Louisa sat there in the dark, phone against her ear, listening to yet another one-sided conversation. And for the first time in years, she realized something painful. No one had asked how she was doing in months. She felt like a background character in her own life. That night, when the call ended, Louisa stood in front of her bathroom mirror and whispered 4 words that changed her world. Enough. This stops now. From that moment, she began reclaiming herself. She didn't storm out or cut anyone off. Instead, she made gentle but firm changes. She stopped answering the phone after 9 p.m. She learned to say no without needing to explain. She bought herself a comfortable chair and actually used it. She gave herself permission to rest, to reflect, and finally, to matter to herself. And something beautiful happened. Her family didn't drift away, they leaned in. Her adult children, once so used to her always being available, started checking in just to ask how she was. Her friends began treating her with a new level of respect, not because she demanded it, but because her energy had changed. Louisa wasn't trying to be liked anymore. She was simply living in alignment with her worth, and that changed everything. You might be wondering, does this really make a difference in someone's health? Well, it turns out yes. In fact, science backs it up. Dr. Linda Carter, a geriatric psychologist at Johns Hopkins, found that older adults who carry high levels of self-respect are 42% less likely to suffer from chronic loneliness or depression. They also tend to live 3 to 4 years longer, with better mental clarity and emotional well-being. Because self-respect isn't just about feeling good, it's about protecting the space inside you that makes you feel whole. When you carry yourself with quiet strength, people notice. They listen more. They interrupt less. They begin to mirror the respect you give to yourself. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop saying yes when your body is screaming no. And you stop believing that being nice means never honoring your own needs. Now, maybe for you, this starts small. Maybe it's saying no to a request that drains you. Maybe it's not answering the phone during your quiet hour. Maybe it's just looking in the mirror tonight and asking yourself, what do I need right now? It doesn't have to be dramatic, but it does have to begin. So let me ask you from the heart, are you living in alignment with your values? Or have you pushed your needs so far down the list, you've forgotten what they are? There. If anything in this story resonates with you, I invite you to pause and let it settle. And if you believe that self-respect is something no one, not age, not society, not even family, can take from you, I'd love for you to let us know you're here. Type the number 1 in the comments so we know this message found you. And when you're ready, if you feel this video speaks to something important inside you, go ahead and click like. It helps us reach more people who need this reminder too. Don't forget to subscribe to Golden Wise Elders, because the next 5 traits we'll explore might just remind you of the wisdom you've carried all along. Now, let's move on to the next rare trait that makes you more valuable than gold after 65. Trait 2, calmness and emotional regulation. The quiet strength that brings peace to every room. The longer we live, the more we see, and the more we see, the more we lose. Friends pass on. Our roles shift, our bodies change, and with each season of life, we're invited to either react with fear or respond with grace. You see, there's a kind of strength that doesn't show up in muscles or metals. It's not loud. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need to be noticed. But when it's present, everyone around it feels safe. It's the strength of calm. Let me introduce you to Harold. He's 74 now, a retired firefighter from upstate New York. You'd think someone who's pulled people from burning buildings, who's run into chaos while others ran out, would be the kind to speak loudly, to command a room. But Harold is quiet. Not the kind of quiet that fades into the background, but the kind that fills a room with stillness. At home, he's the one who listens without interrupting. When his grandson has a meltdown, Harold doesn't raise his voice. He kneels down, offers a hand, and says, "I'm here. Take your time." When his wife gets frustrated over the little things, a broken appliance, a misremembered appointment, Harold doesn't correct her or walk away. He smiles, pours her a glass of water, and says, "It's all right. We've seen worse." And when a neighbor panicked after receiving bad medical news, Harold sat with him on the porch for over an hour. Didn't say much, just sat there. That kind of calm can say more than 1,000 words. The beautiful thing is, Harold wasn't always like this. He told me once that in his 30s and 40s, he reacted quickly, sometimes harshly, but over time and through hardship, he learned the most powerful person in the room is rarely the loudest. It's the one who can stay grounded when everyone else is unraveling. And here's something you may not know. According to researchers at Yale University, our bodies actually become more capable of calm as we age. The parasympathetic nervous system, the part that slows the heart, soothes the mind, and regulates stress, becomes more accessible after 65. That means that with a little practice, simple breathing, a few minutes of mindfulness each day, we can actually train ourselves to return to peace faster than most younger people. What a gift. And think about this. When you become that calm presence, you don't just feel better inside. You change the entire atmosphere around you. Your grandchildren feel safer. Your partner feels steadier. Your friends trust you more. You become a shelter without needing to say a word. So if you've ever been the one to take a deep breath when everyone else is yelling, if you've ever chosen not to argue but to listen, if you've ever offered quiet when the world demanded noise, then you already know the value of this rare trait. And if this is something you're still learning, still practicing, then let this be your gentle encouragement to keep going. Start with a slow breath in the morning, a pause before you respond, a choice not to carry someone else's chaos into your own peace. Let me ask you, have you ever been the calm in someone else's storm? If that sounds like you, or like someone you hope to become, drop a 2 in the comments below. I'd love to know you're walking this quiet path with us. And if this story reminded you of someone, a friend, a parent, a spouse, share this video with them. We all need that steady voice in our lives. And finally, if you find value in what we're sharing here on Golden Wise Elders, hit the like button and subscribe to stay connected. Because the next trait we'll explore may just change the way you experience connection and how others experience you. Now take one deep breath and let's move forward. Trait 3, finding joy in simplicity. The quiet art of appreciating what's already here. Show us in a world that constantly urges us to do more, get more, and be more. There's something profoundly powerful about learning to slow down and simply notice what we already have. For many people, this lesson doesn't truly sink in until later in life. After the hustle, after the ambitions have softened, after the noise has quieted down, that's when the beauty of the simple things begins to glow a little brighter. Let me tell you about George. He's 80 years old now, a retired carpenter living in a small town just outside of Portland, Oregon. He's not wealthy. He never traveled the world. He doesn't have a big house or a fancy car, but George wakes up every morning at 6 a.m., makes himself a cup of black coffee, and sits by the window in his kitchen where the sunlight pours in just right. He watches the birds. He listens to the silence. He breathes. And every single day he smiles and says to himself, "This is good." George takes slow walks through his neighborhood. He waves to the mail carrier. He stops to admire the shape of a tree. When he eats slowly, savoring each bite like it's the first time he's tasted something that good. There's nothing extraordinary about George's day. No big adventures, no major plans, but that's the point. He has discovered the extraordinary in the ordinary, and because of that, his life feels full, even without all the things the world tells us we need to chase. It wasn't always this way for him. George shared with me that in his younger years, he used to feel like he was constantly falling behind, like there was always something more he should be doing, building more, earning more, being more. But after his wife passed and the house felt too quiet, he realized something heartbreaking and freeing all at once. He had spent so many years reaching for what's next, he had forgotten how to enjoy what was already here. So now, he chooses joy, not in some grand, dramatic way, but in small, repeated acts. The warmth of a blanket, the sound of his granddaughter laughing on the phone, the smell of rain hitting the porch, the gentle hum of a life that doesn't need to be big to feel meaningful. And here's the beautiful truth. Research from the University of California, Berkeley shows that people who consciously practice daily microgratitude, meaning they take just a few minutes each day to reflect on small joys, report higher levels of contentment, lower stress hormones, and even better sleep quality. The older we get, the more we realize joy isn't in the spectacular, it's in the sincere. And you don't need a new house, a big trip, or a perfect body to feel deeply happy. You just need a moment and the choice to fully be in it. Maybe for you, that moment is your first sip of tea in the morning. Maybe it's watching your dog nap in the sunlight. Maybe it's listening to the birds outside or laughing with someone who truly sees you. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. So let me ask you, when was the last time you paused to feel joy without needing a reason? If you believe that happiness is found in the little things, go ahead and type 3 in the comments. I'd love to hear what simple moments have brought you peace lately. And if this part of the video made you breathe a little deeper, smile a little softer, maybe even tear up just a bit, I invite you to like the video and share it with someone who might need this reminder today. Stick with us, because in the next trait, we'll explore something that many people avoid for most of their lives, but when embraced, can transform not only your relationships, but your own sense of worth. Let's keep going. Trait 4, lifelong curiosity. The mind that stays open never grows old. The world is changing faster than it ever has. New technology, new language, new ways of thinking. It can all feel overwhelming, especially when you're no longer expected to keep up. But here's something I've seen again and again. It's not the youngest people who seem the most alive. It's the ones who stay curious, the ones who never stop wondering, learning, exploring. Because staying curious isn't just about knowledge. It's about staying connected to the world, to others, and most of all, to yourself. Let me tell you about Emily. She's 76 years old and lives in Austin, Texas. She was a school librarian for over 30 years, surrounded by books, kids, and questions. After she retired, for a while, things slowed down. Her days became quieter, routine. But Emily missed the feeling of discovery. So instead of settling into a passive rhythm, she started trying new things. She learned how to use her smartphone, not just to call, but to text, take pictures, and yes, to play Wordle every morning with her niece in Seattle. She joined an online book club for seniors and now reads everything from poetry to science fiction. One day, her granddaughter introduced her to TikTok, and instead of rolling her eyes, Emily leaned in. Now, every week they make short, silly videos together. The kind with music, matching dances, and way too many bloopers. Her laughter fills the house. People love being around Emily, not because she knows everything, but because she's always open to learning something new. She doesn't say, "That's not for me." She says, "Show me how." And what's truly beautiful is that her curiosity makes others feel seen. When she listens, she really listens. When she asks questions, she waits for the answers. She doesn't shut down new ideas. She welcomes them, even if they're different from what she once believed. That's the power of curiosity. It keeps you sharp, it keeps you engaged, and it keeps your heart young. Dr. David Hirsch, a geriatric psychologist who's worked with older adults for over 2 decades, explains that seniors who actively continue learning have a 38% lower risk of cognitive decline and a significantly higher sense of self-worth and emotional resilience. Why? Because learning tells your brain and your spirit, I'm still growing, I still matter. And the best part, you don't need a classroom, you don't need textbooks, you just need the willingness to try something unfamiliar. A new recipe, a new show, a new friend, even a new way of thinking. Maybe it's finally figuring out how to video chat. Maybe it's asking your grandson what that slang word means instead of pretending you know. Maybe it's picking up a paintbrush after 40 years just to see what your hands remember. You see, curiosity isn't about proving anything. It's about connecting to life, to people, and to your own sense of wonder. And the older you get, the more precious that connection becomes. So I'll ask you, when was the last time you learned something new? Not something huge, just something that made you pause and say, well, how about that? If you believe that staying curious is the secret to staying alive inside, drop a 4 in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you've discovered lately, even if it's as simple as how to use emojis. And if this moment made you smile, please like the video and share it with someone who needs a little reminder that it's never too late to learn. Make sure to subscribe to Golden Wise Elders. We've got more uplifting stories and lessons coming your way every week. Now let's keep going, because the next trait is one that can protect your peace more than almost anything else. Trait 5, setting healthy boundaries. Loving others doesn't mean losing yourself. As we grow older, many of us find ourselves pulled in all directions, helping grown children, caring for grandkids, checking in on siblings, supporting friends through loss. The truth is, the older you get, the more invisible your own needs can become. And sometimes saying yes too often becomes a habit so deep, we forget what no even feels like. But here's something worth remembering. Setting boundaries isn't a rejection of others. It's a recognition of your own worth. Let me introduce you to Robert. He's 73 years old, a retired mechanic living in Pennsylvania. For most of his life, Robert was known as the dependable one. He helped his neighbors move, bad back and all. He lent money he couldn't afford to lose. He answered phone calls at midnight and said yes even when his spirit said no. For a while he convinced himself it was kindness, but slowly the fatigue crept in. The irritability, the quiet resentment. One day, after helping his brother for the 3rd weekend in a row, Robert sat alone in his garage and whispered, I don't think I'm okay. That moment changed everything. He didn't cut people off. He didn't get angry, he just started doing something radical. He paused. Before saying yes, he took a breath, asked himself, is this coming from love or from guilt? If it was love, he helped, joyfully. If it was guilt, fear, or habit, he gave himself permission to say, not this time. At first, some people didn't like it. They were used to the old Robert, the one who never said no. But over time, something beautiful happened. His relationships got clearer. The people who truly cared began respecting his time. And the ones who only came around when they needed something, they quietly drifted away. Robert told me, I finally feel like my time belongs to me again. And you could see it in his eyes. He wasn't just respected, he respected himself. Clinical research from the American Psychological Association confirms that older adults who practice healthy boundaries report lower levels of chronic stress, better cardiovascular health, and, perhaps most importantly, higher relationship satisfaction. Because boundaries aren't about building walls, they're about choosing peace over pleasing. And the truth is, when you honor your own needs, you give others permission to do the same. You become an example, not of selfishness, but of self-respect. You show your children and grandchildren that love doesn't mean being endlessly available. It means being honest, steady, and whole. So maybe, for you, it starts with something small. Not picking up the phone right away. Saying, let me get back to you on that. Turning down a lunch that drains you. Taking the nap your body's been asking for all week. You're not less kind for having boundaries. You're more clear. You're more grounded. And ironically, you often have more to give because you're not giving from an empty cup. So let me ask you, when was the last time you said yes to yourself? If you're learning to set healthy boundaries or simply beginning to consider it, drop a 5 in the comments below. You're not alone on this path. And if you found this message meaningful, give it a like and share it with someone who may need encouragement to say no without guilt. Be sure to subscribe to Golden Wise Elders because our final trait is something almost no one talks about, but it might be the most powerful of all. Let's take one last step together. Trait 6, a presence that brings warmth and comfort. Sometimes, just being near you is the healing others need. Not everyone needs to walk into a room and make a grand entrance. Not everyone is meant to shine with boldness, wit, or flair. Some people have a different kind of glow, soft, steady, and deeply comforting. They don't try to impress. They don't try to fix. They simply show up. And in doing so, they make the world feel a little safer. Let me tell you about Joan. She's 75 now, a retired nurse living in a quiet neighborhood in Minnesota. You wouldn't call her talkative. She doesn't leave the room. She's not the type to post on social media or tell long stories at dinner. But when she walks into church on Sunday, people seem to breathe a little easier. When she visits her friend in the hospital, the room somehow feels lighter. And when her granddaughter curls up beside her on the couch, she whispers, "It's okay. You don't have to say anything. I'm just glad you're here." Because Joan listens, really listens, with her eyes, with her face, with her whole presence. She tilts her head. She nods with patience. She remembers the details. And when you speak to her, you feel heard. Not just your words, but your being. But what most people don't know is this. Joan didn't always think her quiet presence had value. In fact, for most of her life, she believed she had to do more to be important. She watched others speak louder, joke more, entertain crowds, and she wondered, am I invisible? Until one afternoon, something changed. She was sitting on her front porch, knitting in the golden light, when the little girl next door came and sat beside her. They didn't talk much, just sat in silence, listening to the breeze. After a while, the girl turned and said softly, "I like being near you. It makes me feel safe." Joan smiled, nodded, and then turned away, tears quietly welling up in her eyes. Because in that simple sentence, she heard something she had longed for all her life. Confirmation that her presence was enough. That moment stayed with her. It was the beginning of a shift. Joan stopped trying to be more. She began trusting that her warmth, her stillness, her gentle way of being was not something lacking. It was something rare. And now others come to her, not for answers, but for atmosphere, not for solutions, but for stillness. Because they know just being near Joan helps the pieces of life feel a little less scattered. And science tells us this isn't just sentiment. According to a recent Harvard study, older adults who practice compassionate presence, being fully engaged, non-judgmental, and calmly responsive, report higher levels of emotional connection, lower anxiety, and are often seen as pillars of emotional safety by their families and communities. You don't need to be a counselor. You don't need to know the right words. Sometimes, the most healing thing you can offer is a calm seat beside someone in pain. So if you've ever been told you make things feel okay, or if you've ever felt that just your presence was enough, please know this. That's a gift. That's a trait more valuable than gold. Let me ask you, have you ever been someone's safe place without even realizing it? If that speaks to your heart, type a 6 in the comments. And if someone in your life has been that calming light for you, send this video to them. Let them know they matter more than they think. And of course, if this moment resonated, please like this video and subscribe to Golden Wise Elders, because what we're building here isn't just content, it's connection. Now take a breath, soften your shoulders, and let's hold this truth close. Warmth doesn't fade with age, it deepens. As we come to the end of today's journey, let's take one soft breath and hold the wisdom close. These 6 rare traits we've explored together: self-respect, calmness, simplicity, curiosity, healthy boundaries, and a warm, comforting presence. None of them ask you to be rich, or perfect, or loud. They simply ask you to show up, to keep growing, to keep opening your heart, even when life has asked you to close it. Aging isn't the end of something, it's the unfolding of something deeper. It's not about fading, it's about becoming more gentle, more grounded, more you. And if you're walking that path, if even one of these traits lives in you or calls to you, then know this: you're already more precious than gold. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 6 qualities are you working on the most right now? Which one spoke to your soul today? Leave a comment below and let's start a conversation, because your story matters and your voice is part of this community. And if this video touched something real in you, please don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend. Send it to someone who could use a little light today, because wisdom isn't meant to be hoarded. It's meant to be passed on, just like the warmth of a kind presence. If you'd like more stories like this, gentle, meaningful, full of hope, subscribe to Golden Wise Elders And don't forget to turn on the bell so you never miss a new message that might just be what your heart needs. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being who you are. And we can't wait to walk with you again in the next video. Until then, stay curious, stay kind, and remember, you're still becoming.